Hey everyone, Conor here again for Forge Intelligence, and today's topic is going to be modes of diet. So, does a harder, faster diet work better than a more slow, steady, gradually reduced sort of style diet? So, I'm going to go into this and why it's psychology pretty much is the answer almost entirely, and then sort of pitfalls or things to look out of with both strategies. So, let's get to the main thing. So some people it's quite interesting. So some people almost like just volume and intensity, right? Which is essentially what this is. Some people seem to handle, they can do extreme things for short amounts of time. So even if it's going to be not extreme, they can only handle a short amount of times. Other people can handle all day, but they can't be, really extreme. So this sort of ties along to diets actually. So the ones that sort of can't handle as long, it's probably best, let's say their attention span, whatever, might be like 4-6 weeks in this sort of thing before they get too fucking OCD about muscle gain or strength or whatever. They might be someone that would benefit from a like harder, faster, more aggressive style diet. And yeah, the other people that sort of they'll take things slow, they're sort of nudgy in ways that they do things. More of a slow and steady diet seems to work best. So defining these can be interesting. Probably changes boys to girls. Let's say a slow diet might be, let's just say something you typically see, not a slow, but a slowish diet might be, I don't know, we'll say 0.25 to 0.75% of body weight loss per week. And an aggressive diet might be, 1% of body weight lost per week, week after week, week after week after week. So how I like to do things is, honestly, for most people, if they can get away with a faster diet, well, it's cool. You can get back to original goals, whether it be, muscle gain, strength, spend more time actually, improving those things that actually matter. It means you don't have to be dieting as long, which means you're not as restricted lifestyle for as long. Yeah, albeit harder and probably more restricted in that time, but at least not as long. So if you're going to diet fast, here's a few things you need to do. You need to be good to go before you start your diet. What does that mean? It means your thyroid markers need to be good. You need to have healthy metabolism. You need to be like metabolically flexible. So since you dive into the diet, you need to be able to use fat as a fuel source pretty quickly, or else you're going to run into a few issues. Need like certain pathways good. Your PK pathway needs to be healthy. Even like your stress markers definitely can't be too high. So make sure they're in a good spot. Other things to look out for. So let's say, okay, a slow steady diet might be on, 2,500 calories with like, 300 as maintenance. So 3,000 as maintenance. And the other one might be at like, 1,700. So just because calories are lower doesn't mean nutrients should be lower. Obviously, with a great amount of food, you need to be less specific in what nutrients you go for. So once you hit your critical numbers, and then you can fill in the rest with whatever, feels good, digestively, lifestyle, head-wise, etc. You have less of that luxury in a really low-calorie environment / an aggressive diet. So in those ones, you need to be, quite attentive to what nutrients are going in. Although it's good to be in a caloric deficit, you don't ever want to be in a nutrient deficit. So being more picky with your foods has to happen. There's less leeway for an if it fits your macros approach. Just simply because your calories are filled up with nutrient things and there's not that much left over. Right, other things. Let's go into, what is it? Okay. Right, so because you're in a greater deficit, let's say you look at the body and it's like, okay, I've got like fat and muscles, the primary things we'll just talk about today. They're most relevant to body composition as fuel sources that we can use in a deficit. If you're going extra extreme on the calorie deficit, then obviously the likelihood of muscle loss is slightly higher. So you need to be extra attentive with providing anabolic stimulus. So if you basically got heaps of catabolic stimulus coming in, you need to at least try to match it to get anabolic stimulus. So your training needs to be especially on point. You need to nail your volume. Honestly, your sort of effective volumes can be really small in a hard deficit. You need to make sure it's progressive. You can't really be fucking up too much. This isn't the time for heaps of reps in reserve. This isn't the time for, technique work, etc. Your stimulus needs to be perfect or else you're going to really risk muscle loss very quickly. Right, other things that can dictate how fast you can go is, well, this is sort of, comes into your decision, can be how fat you are. So not even body weight in terms of percentages, because obviously, a 200 pound person losing 1 pound a week, 2 pounds a week or 1% a week, is different to a 300-pound person losing 1% a week. So the thing is, the fatter you are, the quicker you can go, the more aggressive you can go. The one cool thing about fat is it is anti-catabolic to muscle tissue. So, you can afford to push a bit faster. It's really like extra tissue. When we're talking about, where's muscle grab, it's quite easy to grab fat if it's in, abundance, especially in an unhealthy way. It's always going to be like the first preferential fuel source and that sort of timing. What other things are there? Obviously, it always is relative to your end date. So the thing is that's quite interesting is I think I've looked at preps before and they do so here's one, natural bodybuilders seem to have like much longer preps compared to the enhanced folks. So let's say it's a 30-week prep compared to a 12. So you might actually see slightly better muscle retention across the 30-week as in, the slower, less aggressive cut. But how metabolism, all those things comes back afterwards seems to be a lot worse. This isn't a natty versus non-natty conversation. This is, all things controlled. And the other thing to understand is muscle tissue is hard to gain, but as the god Greg Knuckles says, regaining previously attained tissue isn't too hard. So I prefer, almost go fast, and I might be slightly less effective, but in that example of 12 weeks versus 18, or 12 versus 30, you've got another 18 weeks if you really think about it to be gaining tissue. Anything you got, anything you might lose, like more than 30 week, as well as you can probably gain more on top of it. So it basically means you can do more time doing more effective stuff, as I mentioned before. Right, I think I'll probably much end it there. So it is dependent on your psychology. If you are going to go fast, you need to make sure, there's no health deficiencies, there's no nutrient deficiencies. You need to make sure you're mentally ready to go. You need to make sure the muscle tissue isn't going to be compromised too much. And you might have more benefits there. But again, tailor towards your psychology because compliance is king and psychology and compliance are best friends. All right, hope that was an interesting video and may help you guys out there, whether, you're just in general fat loss, comp prep, or whatever weight goal / reduction you have. All right, ta.